So, good evening, everybody. An official start to this evening. I want to welcome you. I know we have some first timers here and some old timers. No age jokes involved there. I love that we call this the monthly connection now, and it's such a perfect name for what we're doing here tonight. It's all about feeling that connection with a group of kindred spirits and talking about our connection with the spirit world and with all that is, celebrating that and learning how to tune into our connectedness moment by moment, all the time. Before I get going, I want to thank my two lovely assistants for the pregame show here. We want to thank Bev, who just today had eye surgery, and she was just saying how she feels like somebody put her computer on bold all of a sudden. She can see and no restrictions at all in what she can do. It's just amazing how technology and medical advances have helped with that. So we are grateful for that, and grateful for Lynette for bringing your lovely laugh and energy to this evening. And thank you all for bringing your energy. It's going to be an amazing evening. This will be the first time in a monthly connection webinar that I have channeled Sanaya. I don't feel they're going to be channeling for very long. I don't know. They know the timing and how everything has to be paced. But I will tell you that that channeling session as part of the group healing that I announced would happen is most likely going to happen in the second hour of this 2-hour webinar. I also want to assure those of you who are not watching live, who are watching this when it's now a recording, don't worry about not being here live for the channeling. We have done this before, and those who watch the recording, having attended the live session as well, have assured us that the energy is just as strong, the effect is just as clear, and the healing can take place just as well. So don't worry about that if you're not watching it live. In any case, how this evening is going to go is the same, except for the channeling, as it does every month. I'm going to start off by sharing some of the latest and absolutely the greatest evidence that has come through in my readings during this past month, and one goes back to January that I just hadn't shared yet. Why? Number one, because it's just so darned awesome to get this evidence that we don't die, that our loved ones who have passed are still right here, part of our lives, know what's going on in our lives, and just can't wait to give us verifiable information to prove that fact. So I have some wonderful evidence that is going to go for at least half an hour this evening, but I promise you, you won't fall asleep. And the reason we spend so much time on that is because the teaching that follows that came from my guides in the last month depends on us understanding and knowing and trusting that there is a greater reality that we are part of now, not just when we pass. We are connected at all levels, at all times. So by just fire hosing you with all of this evidence, the mind opens, you slip down into the heart that already knows this is very real. So I will share the evidence and the teaching. I will stop every so often to take questions from a few of you. Bev knows what questions have been asked many times, and you can find on the FAQ page on my website. If you have questions, type them in the question box, Q&A box, and Bev will be looking at those as we go along, and she'll be guided by her guides which one to choose and ask. All right. Meanwhile, before this session, as always, I got centered and grounded, shifted my focus to my team, Sanaya, and said, please may your words and my words merge. May anything that I say tonight come from you, and may you guide this. So I'm going to ask them now to guide us in an invocation so that we all come together as a group. So would you please just take a moment now and set aside all the busyness of your day, just become present for this time here together. A great way to do that is by picturing yourself with a shaft of light that connects you to the heavens, comes down around your body, and just grounds you into the center of the earth. Each of us is already a being of light, but connecting to this light in this way, this light that always flows through us, just helps us remember that. And now move your awareness to the heart. With it there, let's take a nice, relaxing, slow breath in. And slowly exhale all of your cares, and just relax into this time here together. Doesn't that feel good? And now turn up your heart light, fill your entire energy field with it, and send your rays out to everyone attending right now. And just feel that connection. Feel the love. That love is so palpable in these times together, and we give so much gratitude to us in this group, all of us together forming one field, and then extend it to take in all of our guides and all of our loved ones across the veil. And how about all of humanity who we are going to be sending healing energy to later this evening? How about throughout this session, my guides say. And so with gratitude for our participation here, for having followed the nudge to be here, may we each hear exactly what we need to hear this evening. May we receive healing this evening, and may our energy help to transform those around us as well. And so it is. All right. That got a little wordy, but it's good stuff, huh? All right. So let's start with no, we're not going to start with the evidence. My guys just said, stop and acknowledge what's going on in the world. Okay. So you may be watching this later, but at this time right now, Ukraine is under attack from Russia, and we're all pretty much keeping an eye on the news. Everybody's a little nervous about that at the human level. That's very, very normal to feel that way. But if anything this evening, may this show you that you are human by all means, and we humans have fears and worries and get upset at each other, but we are also souls. And at the soul level, we are being watched over. At the higher levels, at the soul level, we know all is well no matter what happens, for the soul is already whole and complete. I just put a video on YouTube 2 days ago with channeled words from my guides showing us that when it comes to any human situation, your point of view is all important. Are you going to see it through the narrow, limited lens of your human role, or from the more expanded viewpoint of the soul? And at any time, know that you can call upon those in the angelic realms who have an even bigger picture. And there we find peace, and there we find greater insights, and just the awareness that we are not alone. So we send love to all of those involved in the fighting on both sides, because from the soul level, there are no sides. So we've got to have the healing coming from the top down, and we'll send it from both sides, human and soul. That's the only way there are two sides. So, okay, more on that later. And now the evidence to back up that we are souls. Here we go. So I had a client who wanted to hear from her father. She told me that right up front. And so I tuned in and I could feel him. Suddenly I felt very short of breath, literally couldn't catch my breath. And some of you who are working as mediums know that those across the veil merge so completely with us that we can often take on their symptoms. I love when that happens. It's only temporary and it's very evidential. And then her father across the veil showed me a big C. I knew he was talking about how he passed. And in my work, that's a symbol for me. I said, your father's showing me he passed of cancer. And she said, no, COVID. And I thought, how did I get that wrong? And she said, it's another C. And all of a sudden I said, oh my goodness, she's right, but I have a symbol. How are we going to get around that? And as I always teach you, ask your guides for help with this. So my guide, Brenda, who is here with us this evening, I said, what are we going to do about this? And she said to me, you would not have gone to COVID. It's still so new. You haven't had enough spirits come through who passed of COVID that your mind doesn't even go there yet. So we had to get you there another way. Thought that was very clever, and also very much truth for me, that if I can't imagine something, it's very hard for those in spirit to get it through. If you're working as a medium or trying to connect across the veil, keep that in mind. And so I said, well, we need a new one for COVID. And I said, how about CO? Or just shout it at me. It would be nice to just know it. But I wanted to show you how we can work with our guides. And I know that this is an interactive connection. It's not just pulling data out of the air, because in this case, the father was showing me some of his old memories, old things he liked to do. And I said, I see him drawing back an arm and throwing a pass with a football. I know he played football. And she laughed. She said, yeah, he was a quarterback. So perfect. Just a little piece of evidence from him. That one's a short one, but some important teaching about assumptions. So I had an opportunity to give a reading on Valentine's Day, and Lynette is my scheduling princess. And I said, use your guides and your intuition to go down the waiting list and choose someone who jumps out at you with the intention that this be a really special one on Valentine's Day. So she's not allowed to tell me anything about my clients. And she said, I got you one. So my client came on the screen. It was a Zoom meeting. And it turns out that it was a woman that I met when I did a workshop at Unity of Vero Beach a month or so ago. And I recognized her and I said, wait, I know you have a son across the veil. And the reason I knew that is because while I was at that workshop in Vero Beach, a very unusual thing happened. Her son was standing next to us while we were talking, and I noticed him. Now, when I talk to people, I know our loved ones are standing right there all the time, but my guides shut me off, or I would just be giving readings left and right. I would have no life. So in this case, it was so unusual for me to say, you have a son across the veil and he's right here. And it turns out she was wearing a military sweatshirt. And I said, yeah, I hear explosions going off. He was in the military. She said, yeah, the sweatshirt's for him. And I said, this is a setup. I'm supposed to do a reading for you. And so right away, I remembered all of that when I saw her on the screen. I know that he picked me for the military connection. Most of you know I spent 20 years in the Navy. So we started the reading, and the very first image he showed me was standing holding a pole with this big square thing on top of it. I described this. I teach all of my students, report things objectively without interpreting it first, because you might go astray if you interpret it wrong. And I'm so glad I followed my own teaching, because I said, this is what he's showing me. It appears that he is protesting something, like you're carrying a placard. She said, no, he never protested anything. He wasn't in a protest. And I said, well, he feels very strongly about this, holding this thing. And she started laughing. And she said, Suzanne, I know what that is. I'm going to show you all a picture. I'm going to share my screen. It'll just take a second here. He was in the honor guard in the Air Force. Look at how they're holding that pole. And the flag was unfurled. That's actually her son, the second one from the right. And it was just so obvious once she said he was in the honor guard that he was showing me himself holding the flag. Just a beautiful teaching point there, that what really matters is that your client, the sitter, the one receiving the reading, understands what their loved ones are showing, and she understood it perfectly. So that was pretty cool. So he showed me that he was an E5 in the Air Force. That means something to military folks. That was his rank. And she said, yes, he was posthumously promoted to that rank, which I thought was really cool for him to bring up, because now mom knows, he knows that even after he passed, he got that promotion. The coolest moment in this reading, well, they were all pretty cool. I said, now lots of moms have a necklace for their child, or they have some other piece of jewelry, but he's showing me you have 3 pieces of jewelry that pertain to him. And I asked him, I said, he says, you have a bracelet, a necklace, and a ring. And she proceeded to hold up her arm with the bracelet, show me the necklace, and hold up the ring. It was just so beautiful. She loved it. We were just off to a great start. Really funny. Sometimes those across the veil speak. Sometimes they show me images. Sometimes you just know. But in this case, her son said to me, I'm bored. And I said, he's not bored now, but he's showing me that he was easily bored. And she threw her head back and she said, that is a phrase he used all the time and used to drag it out just like that. I thought that was so unusual. Nobody in any of my readings has ever brought that through. I said that he's showing me a big white cross on his chest. Now, this would have been easy to misinterpret as somebody that served as a volunteer in a hospital or for the Red Cross. some medical unit, but let me show you. Look at this. This picture on the left is him. At one time, they did reenactments of medieval things, and he has the red cross on his chest, but the picture on the right, if you look very closely, you see one arm of that white cross. In fact, when I looked closely, he even described it to me. It wasn't a cross like a Christian cross. It was the one where the crossbars are completely centered, and that's him as a younger boy, and his mom in that photo. So he was bringing up memories of just loving doing those kind of activities. At one point, he said to me, "Tell my mom I whisper in her ear." I got goosebumps. She actually gasped when I said that. She said, "He did that on my birthday. I heard him whispering in my ear." So what a perfect memory to bring back, that he actually did it on mom's birthday. Then I said, he's showing me he was a risk taker, because he's showing me jumping off something really high. And I don't see a mountain, but it feels like a ledge. Check out this photo. That's him. So yeah, a little bit of a risk taker there. Now, this was really pretty funny. Any of you who have had a reading with me know that sometimes names pop in and out, and a lot of times that some of them don't make sense till later. Some of them never make sense. I don't know what it is, but my clients know that, you know, when we get a name that's accurate, that's a big deal, and we celebrate it. Well, I've come to find out that those in spirit give me names when it's important to the reading, but it's not always important to them. In this case, the young man across the veil gave me his brother's name, but it just came out. I said, he's talking about his brother, and I'm hearing Jamie or Jason. She said, "Not quite right. It's Johnny." I said, "Oh, the J thing. I don't like when mediums just give a letter, but I understand it completely." Then he gave me the name Eric. And she said, "Well, not quite right." So I tuned in. I said, you know, fine tune that dial a little. I said, "It's Aaron." She said, "Yeah, that's his dad." I said, "Oh, that's pretty cool." Then all these names right in a row. I said, "Now he's giving me the name Bobby." She said, "Yeah, that's a really good friend of him who's like a brother." And then all these names. And I said, "Now he's giving me the name Justin." And mom didn't say a word. So I said out loud to him, "Enough with the names already." And she said, "Yeah, well, he's Justin." I just burst into laughter. I said, "All right, thank you for the name Justin." So it cracked me up. He showed me, I described to his mom, he's firing a rocket, and it's about 3 feet long. So I know he was really into rockets. Well, little did I know, in the Air Force, he got to fire a rocket launcher. So this is actually him in a picture that mom had. But what's really kind of cool, and I know it's why he brought it up, is the very next day, a friend of theirs who have horses emailed her that Justin used to ride horses with her, and she had just named her brand new horse Rocket. So I take that as a current event that Justin was saying, "I know all about that." So he got 2 pieces of evidence in one. Little while later, after we had forgotten about all the names coming through, I said, "He's showing me you guys used to make a play on words with his name, because he's saying, you used to say just in time and just in case." This is a funny thing that happens in mediumship. When those across the veil merge with us, and it's so clear that these are their thoughts, the things that come out of our mouth are often, they seem to us so obvious, we think somebody might just know that. Everybody would do this just in time, just in case. She laughed and she said those were our number 2 ways of joking around. Number 1, we would say just in time. Number 2, just in case. I shared this with my husband later. He said, "Honey, that's not really obvious to anyone." So that was a very cool one. Then he showed me this roof extending out from the house. I looked at that. I looked a little wider and I said, "He's showing me you have a carport, not a garage, just the roof." And as I look at it through his eyes, there are chimes hanging down from it, and he makes them ring, he says. Here's the picture. Look at the carport with the chimes hanging down. Mom says, "Nobody could know that." Yeah, nobody except her son. which is what's so beautiful about evidential mediumship. Then he said, I ride beside her in the car and I love how she talks to me. She said, oh my, that is so significant. And she said, hang on a second. Then he showed me something hanging from the rearview mirror. And she said, can you see what it is? And I said, oh boy, if I could, I would have told you, let me look. And I said, I'm not seeing it and I'm trying. And I want all of you to know that sometimes trying can be counterproductive. So I said, Justin, show me anything you want, anything that's important to you. And I said, he's showing me a shield and a sword. She says, yeah, he has a couple of shields. And here they are up on the wall. And the sword is not in the picture, but he absolutely had a sword and shield. So he didn't answer the question, but that's a pretty odd thing for somebody to have, which was really cool. And then he said, my name is in lights. My name is in lights. And she later sent me this picture. There's his name in lights, which is very cool. So as a final note, as his mom was emailing me these photos for this presentation, Justin dropped in on me again, and I couldn't absolutely feel him there as I'm writing to her. And he wanted me to tell her that he sends her birds as a sign and wanted me to bring up the bird, and also mentioned a tattoo somebody was thinking of getting and gave it a big thumbs up. She wrote back all excited. She said, the bird is one of his main signs. Are you ready? And it's what's hanging from the rearview mirror in the car, a bird. And her brother is thinking, his brother is thinking of getting the tattoo. So notice how I'm not even tuned into mom, wasn't expecting it. Here comes Justin. And when I'm not trying, he answers the question. So that's a big clue for all of us who are working as mediums or trying to connect with our own loved ones. Trying doesn't always work. They know when they can get just the right evidence and information through to us. So that was really cool. All right, I'll stop the screen share now. I so thank all of the clients who let me share this evidence, and I hope you're celebrating with me. That woman who organized my talk at Unity of Vero Beach, her father was killed when hit by a car within the last year, and she asked if I would do a reading for her and her mother, her father's wife, while I was in Vero Beach. And it was a great honor for me to go to mom's condo and sit with mom and her daughter and bring him through. Oh my goodness, he was just waiting. I could feel his personality so clearly, and it was really cool because I said, this man is straight arrow, no vices at all. We're not drinking, we're not smoking, we're not gambling, no drugs, straight arrow. And mom, he has you up on a pedestal and is just saying that he was in awe of you from the moment they met. But he's saying, all I could think of was, why would she ever be interested in me? Oh my goodness. Absolutely. It was their love story. So we were off and running right from the start. And it was such a good merging that at one point, as I was sharing his messages, I said, he's going like this. I'm supposed to talk about something. And both mom and daughter sat up looking like they were looking at a ghost. They said, that he did that all the time. Everybody who knew him knew he snapped his fingers. And when I thought about it, I don't sit in readings and snap my fingers. So it was dad doing it through this vessel. And that's what a medium is the vessel for those who are no longer in a body. This was really funny. He showed me people putting their hands on his shoulders and guiding him. And he says, just point me in the right direction. And both mother and daughter cracked up. They said he was known for having no sense of direction whatsoever, didn't know his left from his right. I thought that was the most clever way to get that through to me. Can you see how this is absolutely not just picking up data? This is an actual person, no longer in a body, interacting in a way that I can understand to let us know this is real. Death is not the end. I cannot say that enough. One of the last things that he showed me in that reading was a squeaky door. And I said, and it used to drive him nuts, and he never was able to fix it. And mom and the daughter look at each other and they said, not aware of that. I checked with him to make sure. I said, yeah. He says he was always trying to stop it squeaking. It's really funny. I barely got back to my RV because we were on the road. and I get a text from her. She said, Suzanne, not long after you left, my mom stepped out onto the patio and the door squeaked and we both stopped and looked at each other. It was the patio door. So funny how we don't remember things in the moment of a reading. And just as I was wrapping up the connection, back it up a little, during the reading, he shouted at me, Harry. Now, I think it's the only name I got in the whole reading, but boy, did he save the best for the last, because they both looked at each other and they said he was a grown man. I don't know how old he was, at least 70s. And Harry was his most precious childhood stuffed animal that he had his entire adult life. He still had it as a grown man, Harry. And what's really cool, this is the kicker, is that his daughter just that morning had shared with someone at the church an example of how mediums can pick out the name of our childhood stuffed animals. So there's Dad eavesdropping on that conversation and saying, this is going to be good. I can get Harry through to Suzanne. And thank God he did, because it was just beautiful. Anybody else have goosebumps? All right. So he was listening in. Just remember, the reason this is possible is because all of us are part of one mind, one shared experience as love in full expression. That's life, love in full expression. There is only one mind, one field from which all of these individual experiences arise. And through intention and belief, and when it serves the greatest good, these connections happen so beautifully. So let's see. Here's a good point for so many of you who ask, I sense somebody in spirit. Should I say anything? Well, on that trip to Florida, we went way down south and attended a rally for the kind of RV that we have. And each night, all the people gathered for buffet get-togethers. And we met different people at different tables for 10 people each night. And the very first night, sitting there chatting to people, you know, where are you from? What do you do? All those normal things we say. And at one point, this woman who was there with her husband spoke about him being her second husband. And she said, my first husband passed. And all of a sudden, I just got this feeling that I get when I feel a spirit. Again, rare, but I could tell he was right here. And I tuned in, I turned to her and I just said, oh, he passed 10 years ago, huh? And she said, yep, just like that. Yep. Not, how do you know? Yep. And then I said, now she's only about 40 years old, right? So her husband can't be much older than that. And I said, oh, and he passed of cancer, huh? And she said, yeah. And she just kept on talking, and I found it so funny, because if somebody says that to me, what's the most natural question? How do you know that? And because she'd never asked, she didn't respond at all to either of those. I checked with him. Do I say anything? And he said to me, no, I just wanted to be here. And so I left it. See, we don't have to pass it along. He made that entree. If she had asked, man, we would have opened that right up. I would have said, and he's right here, blah, blah, blah. But we want to respect everybody in these connections. I got the goosebumps again. So that was pretty cool. Let's see. So I did a reading in January for a Shining Light mom. Her name is Jill. I know she's tuning in this evening, and I want to honor her son, Michael, who came through beautifully. Right off the bat, he jumped in so powerfully. I'm going to share with something with you now that is a bit of a downer. You know, not all of these joyous stories are totally joyous. They come with sadness, of course. And I mentioned how I feel their pain at times. And in this case, it was so clear. I believe I went, ow, and I had a very sharp pain. I said, this is right where the liver is. And the thing is, once I report this, the pain immediately goes away. And we absolutely need to understand those in spirit are not in pain. They can recreate a symptom as a frequency that the brain translates as a pain. The pain isn't even real for the medium. Okay, it's evidence. Your son had a problem with the liver. Then I felt a gurgling feeling, and I felt a drowning sensation. Mom confirmed her son had liver disease, And unfortunately, he had to go to the hospital and they gave him blood thinners and he drowned in his own blood. Now, I know that's not a pleasant story, but it's so evidential. And what was so meaningful to Mom was when her son then said a mistake was made from the hospital. And he said to me, my liver disease was not caused by alcoholism. So how validating for Mom. She knew that it was not caused by alcoholism. And she said, absolutely, he should not have been given that blood thinner. But the loving messages that he shared after that is why he made sure that she knew this was him, so that the messages that come through, that the only validation is from your heart, is backed up with the evidence that came beforehand. And she talked about him doing everything she could. No, excuse me. He talked about her doing everything she could for him at the end. And he wanted to acknowledge that and tell her it's all okay. And she had been tormented, she told me, that was her word later, by thoughts that she could have done more and that she was responsible. Those across the veil know what weighs heavy on our hearts, and they do their best in readings. It's stunning how they get that through to let us know it's okay and I'm okay. So he also knew about his mom still not being able to sleep, even though some time had passed, and about her having digestive issues. He picked things up a little bit after that, showing me using a movie camera. Now, we don't use movie cameras like this anymore, but that was very clearly what he was talking about. And she said, oh, he loved making movies. And I said, and he's talking about a friend named James. And she said, yeah, that's the best friend with whom he made movies. She actually sent me some of those movies afterwards, and there was James in there with Michael and his brother. He showed me a ring. Now, again, lots of people have jewelry, but it's really cool when you can get that extra little bit of evidence. I said, this goes to a fiance. She said, I just returned a ring that he had to his fiance. So pretty cool that he knew about that. We also heard from Jill's mother and father, both with messages that totally made sense to her and were greatly appreciated. So the healing potential of mediumship is absolutely stunning, especially when she said that they were not the most loving parents and that they were messages she needed to hear. So another teaching point for anybody, don't necessarily assume just because you feel in a mother and a father that they were necessarily loving. I will tell you that the messages that came through were loving, because once we get to the other side, almost universally, we know that love is what it's all about, and they can't wait to tell you that and let you know how they're changing. So he wanted me to mention a band of brothers. Boy, did he have brothers. I'm going to share a screen here for you. The brothers, a whole band of brothers. And here are the dragonflies, which her beautiful son mentioned were very special to Mom. She has earrings, and the movie Dragonfly was super special for her, especially after he passed. If you haven't had a chance to watch that movie Dragonfly, you might want to check that out. So another cool thing was at one point in the reading when he said, there's a special birthday coming up. It's 123. I wasn't sure how to interpret that. I thought maybe it was 3 days away, or it was the month of March, 123. No, it was a brother's birthday on 1/23. Very, very cool. And it was definitely just coming up in that January reading. So as Michael said, this is real. He said it in the reading, Mom, this is real. I'm right here. And I hope that we'll all send healing energy to Jill and Michael's twin brother, who's having a really hard time with his passing. And he's listened to this recording, and we can only hope that he knows that he's still here for a reason. All righty. Bev, I still have more evidence to share, but I've been going a little while, and I would love to take a question or two just to interact with the community.
Suzanne, can you please talk to us about fear? For example, if a person is afraid to do things like swim or drive on a big highway, is this indicative of an even bigger fear or something we have to get through? And how do we do that? Get past our fears?
All righty, as I tune into the guides for that one, they're showing me case-by-case basis that fear is definitely of the human aspect of us. The soul does not fear anything. But in many cases, we can't just say, I'm a soul, I'm not going to be afraid. Our bodies are hardwired for survival. So fear is a natural response, of course. But there are cases, as Bev said, of swimming. I had a client once who showed me in a past life they had drowned, and I didn't know they had a fear of swimming, but they said that explains a lot. So there could be factors that go way back, and this is why the guides are saying don't assume it was a past life thing. However, it's going to be case by case, but they're saying your thoughts are so much more powerful than you know. So they're also saying healers in this case, often energy healers, can help with blockages and help to reroute and reprogram those thoughts that are holding you prisoner, because the thoughts are coming from the conditioned human energy field, and we need to get fresh insights from the soul coming in. Good one.
Thank you. Another anonymous, can people across the veil still follow their sports team on Earth? For example, could they attend a baseball game?
Oh, I know what the answer is, but I got to ask. I just heard play ball. Absolutely, they could. And why wouldn't they? They can create their own teams, or they can drop in on our teams. I'm seeing binoculars. Just before I started, Brenda was all ready for this evening, and she showed me this great big hat. And I said, she's ready for this party here this evening. And I texted Lynette because I knew it was significant. And even while Lynette was greeting all of you, she's looking down at the text, and she texted back. She said, it's me. I have a great big hat in my car right now. I was just thinking about it. Is it an umbrella or a hat? So this is the game, Brenda, and I play with each other to make sure I'm tuned in. Tell me something going on with Lynette. But the point is, it's Brenda showing me the binoculars right now. They can look in on anything they want. So I'm going to move along, Bev. We'll take many more as we go along. So, oh, there's some really great teaching here. I started reading and knew my client was a shining light parent. That's the term we use for a parent who has a child across the veil. I was drawn immediately to a child, and I felt a presence and felt lightheaded. That only happens when that merging takes place. Right off the bat, I was wrong. I said, this feels like a son. She said, no, it's a daughter. So I had to say, well, how could I get that wrong? First, understand, I don't see their faces. All these things I say about seeing holding things and motions, I'm seeing charades, but I don't see the faces to this point. So I can't just say I'm looking at a girl or a boy, but feeling into it, I said, let me feel your personality. I described this personality very vibrantly, and the mother said, yes, 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 that's her, that's her. Okay, good. Then she showed me a little bit of evidence. She spoke about meeting her grandmother across the veil. She told me she had a big problem with her skin and was pointing to her face, the soul across the veil. Mom said, yes, that's absolutely accurate. Your daughter's showing me no drugs, no drugs. So I know she didn't pass from a drug overdose. She's telling me just slipping away, and I feel there's a weakness here. She said, yeah, that all makes sense. So we were getting good evidence. But she told me some current challenges that her mom was going through. So lots of things that I normally get in a reading, but I only later realized there were a lot of things missing. I didn't sense how she did in school, if she went to college, did she get married, what kind of work did she do? None of that was coming up. So then we sensed a father and a brother across the veil, brought them through. Very clear connection, especially when the brother showed me a memory of a time when they had not just one, but two flat tires on the car at once. That's what I call a gold nugget. I can't remember an experience like, oh, yes, I can. That happened to me once. But anyway, at the end of the reading, the mother explained to me that her daughter was stillborn. And suddenly I'm thinking, but wait, I felt this personality. I described her vibrancy, and Mom said, yes, that's her, that's her. And I had to question Mom. I said, how did you say yes to all those things? She said, because I felt her around me for years. I see her as an adult woman now, and this is how she always comes through to me. I found that fascinating, but so validating, because that's why I didn't get from her where she went to school, what she studied, what kind of work she did, how old she was, none of those things. Then mom actually showed me a picture of her. And she had a really unusual skin condition on the face. And of course, she met up with her grandmother. So it was just fascinating to me that I didn't know she was stillborn, but had I known, I know I would have made assumptions that there were certain things I couldn't discern from her. To me, it was a blessing that I didn't know these things. This way, all the messages that came through were so pure and didn't go through the filter of me thinking, what would a stillborn say? We have to think about our human filters when we do this work and how they get in the way. So I actually asked Brenda later, my mediumship guide, why didn't you show me baby lost? And she said, because you would have made assumptions. She knows me very well. So what's really cool is within a week, I had another child with no normal evidence. See, I have a whole list that I show people the kinds of things that those in the spirit world can give us, and I wasn't getting any of that. And this time I just flowed with it, and we talked soul to soul. That's what's happening in every connection across the veil for you and your loved ones, for all of us. We don't have to have lived out a whole story here in human form for us to be able to converse with a soul who chose you to be a family member. So then a setup for me. I can see how that first reading with the stillborn child and then the second one was leading up to the most magical experience I had. And I did not ask this woman for permission to share this, so I'm going to keep it very generic, but you'll understand the healing that took place. She reached out to me this same week after those first two readings and said that she had been carrying around pain for 30 years over a child that she lost at the end of her pregnancy. And all she needed was one piece of evidence that she felt would help her just set that pain aside. Well, if I had received that request earlier, I probably still would have done the reading, but I was set up by spirit to know that they can get evidence of many kinds. And that evening I was reading a book. I had already decided to do the reading, and something that came up so clearly in the woman's email about her life was right in the book I was reading, a very random fact that I just looked up. I looked at my sister, my stepdaughter, Susan, and I said, you set this up, didn't you? Because there was a big Susan connection between us. So I emailed the woman and I said, can we do a reading today? And I met with her, and let me tell you, that's set up from spirit. I share this with all of you so that you notice what restrictions you put on yourself. What do you tell yourself? Oh, I couldn't do that, or I'm not capable of that. Trust those in spirit. I knew from this setup that we are part of one big web, and they were not going to let us down, because it was all about healing this woman's pain that she had been carrying around for 30 years. Boom, the daughter is right there in spirit. The evidence was off the charts. Boom, boom, boom. Favorite memories, things mom has done in her memory, things mom just did, things that mom bought that nobody would know about, who specifically she donated money to in her child's memory, things she's been carrying around with all of this evidence way beyond what she asked for, just one piece. I just slipped into channeling mode and let that daughter talk to mom. It was pure channeling. The whole reading only lasted 20 minutes, but that daughter said things to her mom and about how they could move forward together now, no reason to carry that pain anymore. I just knew that healing had taken place, and my friends, it really did. The email I got the next day from that woman, she says she feels lighter than she has in years. And that's why we do this work. And that's why I share it with you through extrapolation. You can understand that anybody who has passed is a soul, and they are so around you. Don't think you can't connect with them. We're only holding ourselves back. So beautiful. Wow. And then Sanaya said to me later, we are holding ourselves prisoner in these stories when we think we're only the story. State your name, the Suzanne story, the Mary story, whatever it is. We are souls eternally playing roles here. So learn to shift your focus. You're already the soul. You may just not realize it. So it's beautiful, beautiful. Bev, how about a couple questions?
Okay. Michelle asked, do those on the other side have any influence over the things like war or other problems on the planet? And I suppose there's hierarchy of those on the other side, whether
Yes,
we're
there
talking
is.
loved ones or angels or guides, but.
Absolutely, Bev, you got it. They do have an influence. Let's just check in with the team here. Even your loved ones who are still in the astral realm, the first level after passing, can have an influence. Brenda says we influence many minds at once with positive thoughts to keep you out of fear, to encourage you to send healing energy like we're going to be doing this evening. And then as Bev said, there is a hierarchy. The angelic realm can influence large groups of people, and the archangels, all of humanity. So they absolutely have an influence, but like that parent who's watching their child learn to walk, they can't just step in and take away our lessons from us. And I don't mean lessons in the way of punishing. We're talking about, look how we are coming together as humanity, as everybody says, this is not right. Look how many more people are saying it's time to change things. So we are all growing. And as the angels have told us, this process itself is so rewarding as we see that. So please keep that in mind. Okay, one more, Bev.
Thank you. I'm sure this fits a lot of people. If anonymous question, if we have a soul contract, how is it possible that my quote soul and I could be in such disagreement because I never would have agreed to live out, in this case, the rest of my life without my beloved husband, but I'm sure many people could substitute.
Oh yes,
else.
any loved one at all. And we often say, I wouldn't have signed up for this. I went off the planet. We so understand that, but it's interesting that you use the term, I'm in a disagreement with my soul. The soul is not in disagreement. The soul is experiencing life through you. And the soul wants nothing more than to shine. And so if there's a disconnect, then how might you find your light again? You're part of this community here. That is a beautiful start. You're in a tribe here. I don't want to be tribal because really it's all about oneness and wholeness. But at the same time, here's where we come to understand we do make choices, and the grief, you got to feel it to process it. It'll come in waves, but you will get past this, especially as you come to have this higher perspective of the soul. Okay. All righty, we'll move on. So last month, if you tuned in last month, I think I sounded pretty hoarse. I had a little bit of respiratory stuff going on, and I still wasn't feeling completely well, but I thought I was okay to do a reading. I tuned into Brenda. She said, go for it. So as I tuned into my clients' loved ones, I sensed the sun across the veil. The woman said, yes, I have a son, but oh, it wasn't clear. And all of a sudden her computer shut down on us. She wasn't coming back. She wasn't coming back. I tried calling her. Here I am trying to hold the sacred space and hold the connection. All these technical difficulties. And we both recognized, stop the reading. I thought it was hilarious that those across the veil messed with this. She said, on the phone, my computer will not restart. I don't know what's going on. I checked with Brenda. I said, I know. Brenda wanted me to at least sense the sun and say, reschedule, because I'm not feeling well. It's just stunning how spirit works. So we rescheduled for, just the following week. And here she comes again. No computer difficulties whatsoever. Her son comes in and shows me he loved technical things and messing with electronics. Go figure. So spirit world knows what's right. So I was getting evidence from the sun, and half of it was okay. And the other half, she says, well, it's a little off. She says, I have to tell you what's going on. I said, fine, tell me. She said, I have 2 sons across the veil, and half of what you say pertains to the other son. This is my challenge when I can't see them. Now, why didn't they shout at me 2 sons? Because we're all works in progress, okay? So I take some assistance from my client. That was fine. Now that I know we have 2, what I did was say, all right, one of you stand here, one of you stand over here. Even though I can't see them, now I can sense them differently. And they actually gave me their names. James, yeah, that's one of them. Michael, yeah, that's the other. See how they give me accurate names when it's helpful, because now I can differentiate. James is saying this, Michael is saying that, and it was really amazing. What was kind of stunning is one of the first things they always tell me is how they passed. And I said, they both passed in vehicular accidents. Mom said, yes. More rare than I would expect in my readings to have that happen even once. And then 2 sons in vehicular accidents. Both of them had very similar personalities. So getting their names was critical. Usually I can tell them apart by the personalities, but they were very similar. And I said, well, the one is showing me he was under the influence of alcohol. She said, yes, he was. I said, the other is saying no alcohol at all. That's right. I said, one is showing me he passed at the scene and he didn't suffer. Mom said, that's exactly what the coroner said. I said, the other is saying he lingered a bit, but he didn't suffer. She said, that's exactly what the coroner said. Just stunning the way the evidence comes through. Let's see. And what was really cool is if I couldn't tell who was giving the information, they literally pulled my head side to side. So it's interesting how those in spirit work with the energy. Let's see. The one who was standing over here said he's showing me he always was a risk taker, and that he's showing me standing on a roof and you're all worried about him. Mom's eyes got wide. She said, the day he died, that night, I had had a dream that he jumped off a roof and I was so worried about him. Whoa, that was a piece of evidence. And let's see. What was really cool was the day after the reading, she emailed me and she said, I haven't been able to go near the places where they were killed, but I sat at an intersection very near to it and I was actually singing and singing to them. A very warm feeling all the way to work. So I just loved that. Then she sent me a follow-up, which was really cool because there were a few things in the reading that she couldn't take. And this is where I advise any of you learning mediumship, don't take no from your sitter as an absolute no. Just remember to tell them, hopefully it'll make sense to you later when you know what those in spirit are showing you. And in this case, she shared the video of the recording with her daughter, and her daughter's like, Mom, don't you remember this? And Mom, don't you remember that? And really some significant validations. She said, when you talked about Michael's accident, you showed me 3 crosses at the scene, because that's what he was showing me, 3 crosses. And I said no, because it was only him and another person in the car. And the daughter said, Mom, don't you remember the accident happened because traffic was piled up from another accident at the scene, a fatal accident, and the car slammed into the backed up traffic. There were 3 deaths at the scene. Ooh, goosebumps with that one. He showed me a ring being put on, an engagement ring. She said, no, he wasn't engaged. And the daughter said, Mom, I talked to his girlfriend. They had broken up, but she said that before he passed, he had said to her, I want to get back together. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Let's go out to dinner the next night. He didn't get to give her that engagement ring, but they were going to get engaged. I was shown by these 2 boys, clear as day, a license plate with their names on it, a personalized license plate. She said, no, don't have that. I looked again. I said, I know this is a license plate. I have to share my screen with you. Let me pull this up. And flip through these. Mom forgot about these license plates because the daughter said, Mom, don't you remember that these were in her truck window from 2017 on? And she had just taken them down at Christmas, but she was thinking the other kind of license plate. So I thought that was pretty cool. And so the final thing that the daughter was able to validate was a dog that had passed, he was holding in his arms across the veil. And she said, no. And his daughter said, don't you remember the German Shepherd he had? He gave it away, but it would be gone by now. And he showed me that they were reunited across the veil. So pretty awesome stuff. That's a lot of evidence. I think we're going to move on. I want to share with you that I mentioned that I had a hard time connecting because I wasn't feeling well. And I always advise all of you, if you're trying to connect with loved ones across the veil, whether you're a medium or you're trying to connect with your own ones, your own energy field is so important that it be clear, that your energy be as coherent as possible, as opposed to incoherent, right? If you don't understand what coherence is. And so that day I wasn't feeling well, I checked in first with my guide. Well, I'd like to share with all of you that it's not just grief or medication or sickness that can interfere with a reading. I discovered this through personal experience in the past month. I had a meeting last month with some people who are helping me with my work. They shared some really cool stuff. I was super excited about it. It was a very high vibration meeting. I was really excited about the direction and the new website we're going to be unveiling this summer. And I had to do a reading right after it. I sat down and I could feel nothing. That is an awful feeling. And I couldn't understand it because my vibration was high. So when we talk about raising our consciousness to connect, we don't mean getting high, right? We mean becoming coherent. Love is the most coherent vibration there is. Peace, being centered, is coherent. So I wanted to call off the reading, and my guide Brenda says, don't call it off. So this is when you pull in the tools. How do we become centered? I said to my client, give me a break here. It was really important because this was a couple and I knew they had a child across the veil. I didn't want to let them down. I asked Brenda, should I reschedule? Just as I did at the time when the woman's computer shut down and I wasn't feeling well. She said, don't call it off. Use your guides. So I said, please be patient with me. I'm all excited about something. I need to set all of that aside. And this is why we train ourselves to be focused. Doesn't matter if you're a medium or not. The training ground is meditation, when you just focus on one thing, no matter what's going on in your life. Check out my Sip of the Divine video on YouTube for a beautiful 3-minute practice for focusing. So knowing the couple sitting right there looking at me, I just took a moment, took several nice slow breaths, and I literally put all of my excitement in a box in my mind over here, set it aside, shifted again, and then tuned in. Got a pain in my head, couldn't deny that, a symptom from their loved one across the veil. At the end of the reading, even though the beginning was terrible, I was wrong, that's why I wanted to call it off. I want to read you the quote from the parents. That so far exceeded our expectations. That was absolutely life-changing. And you know what? All I could think about was that terrible beginning. And isn't that the human way? So I had to have my guide give me a little talking to, and I share it with you that it is the human way to focus on the negative, focus on where we screw up. What was the point of that reading? Show their loved ones, their child was right there. Clearly from their feedback, we accomplished the mission. Yet I think about them going back and watching the recording in the beginning of it. This is when we need to recognize ourselves being human and expanding out to the soul, which is just laughing right now, right? When are we going to get past this? Well, hopefully that one taught me a lesson, and hopefully you don't have to learn it personally. So get to know what coherence feels like. It can also be completely opposite from being manic. All right, with all of this evidence, how could we even deny that death is just a transition? I believe that's enough of the evidence. It took a whole hour, but I think it's very important to understand that we are souls. That's why we come together, right? To celebrate that, to learn more about how we can access awareness of the souls in each other. So in this second hour, we're going to talk about energy for just a little bit, talk about relationships, which is why we're here, and how we learn best. If we all meditated in a cave in the Himalayas, we would not do as much growth as we do here in our relationships with each other, even though sometimes we want to go to that cave. But then we will move on to that group healing and the channeling that I promised you. So what do you do when you pick up on other people's energy and you don't want to? It's lovely to be around people who are happy and positive, and we get on this spiritual path and we tend to think that's the only kind of people I want to surround myself with. That's not realistic, and we won't grow as well. Darn it. I do snap my fingers. How about that? So understand that as souls playing roles, we have an energy field and we have our own thoughts that just keep going round and round like clothes in a dryer, our stuff all the time. And all those thoughts and all our experiences have their own energetic signature. Same with your partner, your children, your parents. We get together and we go through the same stuff all the time. We also react quite often the same to other people when our fields merge, because that's what happened. I told you how I merged with that man across the veil, and I'm snapping my fingers like him. It's why we take on the characteristics of those around us. And when we get in their energy field, we act the same way over and over again. So when you notice you're picking up energy that's not your own, I asked the guides, help me with this, because I don't want to be so reactive anymore. And I was shown it is all just a dance of energy. And this is why I started off the evening saying, remember, we're part of one big field. So the best way to not be affected by others' energy is to notice when you are being affected by it and shift to being aware of the entire field. Basically, dissolve your field so that your stuff and their stuff is no longer going round and round, and you become more aware of the whole field. Thoughts just arise. They arise at all times from the field. We call them ours when they're our conditioned thoughts. We call them other people's, but they really are the thoughts of the one mind, which is kind of hard to wrap our heads around at times. But what we want is fresh thoughts arising from the field, not just from within our limited field. So the guides say to focus on being the whole ocean, the sea of consciousness. Shift your focus. It may be easier said than done, but you can train yourself to do this. I had an opportunity to do that last night. Became very aware when I picked up some energy that I didn't want. And I literally had to stop and go before something came out of my mouth that I knew I would regret. It was incredibly challenging, but very, very powerful to just dissolve those human reactions and focus on just being. So I hope that helps you all. That was a little bit low vibe. So let me share a magical moment that happened speaking of channeling, last month I channeled my guides at Unity Spiritual Center of Fruitland Park in the Villages. If you've read my book, Messages of Hope, you will recognize Jan, a friend of mine and a neighbor. Her nephew took his own life several years back. And I was so surprised when her niece came to that channeling session. She came up to me afterwards in tears. She said, "You won't believe what happened. When I walked in the church, I asked my brother for a sign that he was there with us. While you were channeling, I felt something bump my feet. and she held out to show me a golf ball. She said, "This is the sign, this is the sign." And I asked her, "Was golf big for your brother? Was it?" I'm going to share my screen again because this is pretty magical. Okay. This is her brother in the newspaper for golfing as a young boy. He joined a high school team, really big into golf, won a youth golf tournament, worked at a golf course, and lived on the golf course premises for quite a while. When she saw it was a golf ball, she started to cry. She gave it back to the woman whose pocket it fell out of and rolled directly to her. Kind of reminds me of the movie Ghost, where Patrick Swayze is moving the penny up the wall. This golf ball rolled straight to her. And she told the woman she knew it was a sign from her brother, and the woman gave her the golf ball. When she got it home, she saw that it had the number 2 on it. Guess what? Here's her brother's hockey jersey with the 2. That's pretty cool. Can you see the web at work here? We ask for signs and people say, "I don't get my signs." Sometimes we just don't notice them, but happily she noticed that awesome sign. Speaking of that channeling session, the same guides who you're going to be hearing from this evening is who I brought through that evening. Another woman came up to me in tears afterwards. She said that while Sanaya was talking, she asked them, "How do you see us?" Less than a minute later, Sanaya shared words they have never said before in a channeling session, telling those gathered that they see all of us like sparkling lights, not as bodies. And that was quite the validation for that woman and for all of us, that the ones speaking to us hear us. Of course they do. So pretty cool. So with that awareness, we're going to move now into this session of the evening where we're going to work as a group. And this is about all of us and about you and how we can all be healers when we harness this energy we're a part of. Absolutely, right now, your soul is saying, have you been paying attention? Do you get it now? These are not just Suzanne's stories. These apply to all of us. You are me, the soul, playing a role. And when you shift into soul awareness, you are so much more powerful than you're aware. This energy that flows through you, that is what merges when you interact with others, is what does the healing. You as the role don't do the healing, but your consciousness can direct that energy through your belief and through intention. And it has been proven, and I had it happen in a class that I taught, that by holding a group intention, we can send healing to each other. So when I first set up this monthly connection webinar, my intention was for us to heal each other. And then Russia invaded Ukraine. So we have an opportunity here for both. I asked my guides, do we focus just on one thing, the group healing each other, or healing Ukraine? And they said it's one energy. Healing is healing. As healing takes place in any of you, you turn up the light in all of you. Rewind the video if you didn't hear that once we send this video out. As healing takes place in one of you, the light turns up in all of you. So when I did this group healing experiment live, where did I do this? Picturing Charleston, South Carolina, a couple months ago. We focused not on ourselves, even though every one of us could use healing. I want you this evening to focus on healing others, and you will be healed because they're sending their healing energy to you. But the most awesome thing happens, and happened that day in Charleston. And when I did it for a group of graduates of my Shift Network course last month. When you take the focus off yourself, you receive the gift of feeling yourself as part of that field because you're no longer focusing on your story. Take the focus off yourself and heal from the soul level. And you have created the opportunity to know yourself as a soul. So I set the intention that all of you have a blissful, transformative experience. At the very least, feel a higher vibration than you're used to. But the only way that happens is when you focus on healing others. So we're going to send from the heart, I'll guide you through this, waves of healing energy. And I'm holding my hands up now, you can do that or not. The energy is going to flow from your heart through intention. That's how you do it. With the intention of healing all those gathered for this monthly connection and all those with any connection whatsoever with the conflict in Ukraine and Russia and the refugees and all those trying to help them, which is basically the whole world, isn't it? And with no animosity towards anybody as enemy or friend. All souls, all the roles are what need healing, okay? So here's your greatest task. Become like the sky or the clear ocean. Know that you don't have to do anything except be the vessel, the conduit for that healing energy to go out. The energy itself does the healing. And your task is to not think about yourself, to focus on channeling energy from your heart, and to notice your thoughts. Because we're going to be silent for about 5 minutes, which is a long time, and your thoughts will wander. You'll notice you're wondering about things, you're wondering if you're doing it wrong, you're wondering if the time's up. As you notice those very normal thoughts, just notice them like clouds in the sky and let them float back and immediately redirect your awareness to sending healing to others, healing for the world, healing to those who need it. You can repeat those phrases if that helps you, okay? And then again, your thoughts will arise from the conditioned role. Notice them with no resistance. Go back to healing for others, healing for the world, healing for those who can benefit from it. Okay? All right. Now, why I know Sanaya is going to come through is because when I did this before, both times, I also enter into that higher state. Right now, I'm up. I'm on, talking to all of you. But those few minutes of sending energy will allow Sanaya to merge more completely with me and speak to you clearly as them instead of through me as translator. So I honestly have no idea what they're going to say. I have no idea how long they're going to talk. It could be 5 minutes, 10, 3 minutes, 12. I have no idea, but I'm just going to trust them. And so they will come in at some point after you've been doing the healing. They will absolutely wait until they know that healing has taken place for all of us in this group, all of us, and for everyone around the world that needs it. So when you hear them, you will just automatically come back into normal waking consciousness and enjoy their message. And they'll let me know when it's over. And they say they're not going to take questions because they've already given us plenty of teaching to follow on. I said to them earlier, making the shift from that back to teaching is going to be challenging. And they just now said, you're up to the challenge. Okay. So again, I will guide you through this and then we'll go into about 5 minutes of healing each other. And I thank you so much for your willingness to be part of this and for your love. That's what makes it possible. So let's do this, huh? Okay. So let's all just become very centered. Would you close your eyes, please? Let's begin with a nice, slow, deep breath. Imagine that shaft of light that connects us with the heavens and grounds us into the earth. Pull in an inhalation from above and below, pulling that divine energy into your vessel. Exhale nice and slowly, relaxing, relaxing, relaxing as you exhale. Inhale again. Drop your awareness into the heart area. And as you exhale, Feel yourself just sink deeper and deeper into a beautiful, relaxed state. We're going to do one more nice, relaxing breath. I'd like you to scan your body for any tension, any tightness. And as you find that, just let it go, release it. Now feeling nice and relaxed. Know that you are in a nice, coherent state to be a beautiful vessel of healing, for that beautiful, loving, divine energy to flow through you to where it is most needed. And with that shared intention and harnessing the power of group intention, having moved our awareness to the heart, we begin now to send healing to this group, to all those in the world who will most benefit from it. Send it now. Know that you do so from the soul level, all connected. May bring your awareness back now into the bodies and rest assured that your efforts have made a difference. Could you but see the light which surrounds your planet at this time as we see it, you would understand why we refer to all of you as one body of humanity. And the light around your planet that pertains only to that of the human body is like a skin that glows and glows brighter for your efforts, even though there are dark spots now upon your earth. You have sent energy in such a way that it has affected all of humanity. Do not think in terms of numbers. That is the human way. Think in terms of vibration, of frequency, of luminosity. Think of the luminosity or lack thereof of those who are acting quite human, fighting one against another like a cancer. Such a light is very dim. And now compare it to the light that each one of you, as you send naught but loving healing energy to your brothers and sisters, are radiating. The luminosity of this light goes far beyond that of the average human radiation. This light has a miraculous effect, and trust us that miracles are taking place as a result of your efforts. Some of you have effected healing for those in your families and friends here as a result of your efforts at an individual level, but also you held the intention as a group to heal your planet. You may not see immediate miracles, but trust that they have taken place. What is a miracle? A miracle is when the web of connections of which you are a part becomes quite apparent. You call healings miracles, but truly it is when the veil parts and you see that energy can change things in ways that you never would have expected. We did give this one during the healing session, pains in the abdominal area, and she was questioning us, what is this all about? And we wish to tell you, collective labor pains. You are all giving birth to a new humanity, and labor can be quite painful. The birthing process is indeed tumultuous, painful, one that you would not wish to go through, and yet the results also are so very worthwhile. What kind of new humanity are you birthing? It is a raising of consciousness, an understanding that you are here to support each other, that you are not alone, that fighting against each other is futile. Are you not seeing soldiers understanding this now, asking their fellow soldiers and their commander to reverse the course of decisions that have been made? You are reversing the course that humanity was on through your efforts, birthing new ways of seeing each other. The bodies, the physical bodies that are being birthed at this time are more multisensory than those born decades ago. You will notice an increase in connection through greater intuition, through greater connection at a heart level with the new generations coming in. But this does not mean that you have missed the boat, so to speak. All of you can turn up these multisensory functions that you all enjoy, for all of you are souls. Continue to harness the soul's innate abilities as you did this evening as a group. Such a beautiful experience for us to view as you harness what is your birthright and share it with those among you who do not yet realize this. Trust that healing has taken place You are the instruments for this. Use your hands and your legs, your voices to effect change. Catch yourselves when you are lowering your consciousness to that of those who do not yet realize you are souls. Yes, there can be fear that comes from the human side. Yes, you can complain. This is what humans do. Catch yourselves and ask, what is the higher response? Only by radiating what you wish to see in your leaders will it be received at the soul level, which is from where change will occur. You produced healing this evening from the soul level. Continue that, will you? Know that each of you has turned up your light more than a notch or two, and it will be felt as peace. How long that lasts in you at the human level is up to you. You can choose peace. It is already here. The miracle comes when you understand this at the human level. You are so very loved. This you know. May you maintain this in human awareness as you go through these labor pains and be part of this process. Awakened. We ask you now to shift fully back into integrated human soul awareness for the further teaching, which may digress a bit from what we have been sharing with you now, but it is all from the same field of which all of you are a part. It matters not what the message is. The bottom line is, never forget, you are souls who came here for a reason, to shine your lights on each other, to allow each other to remember as a whole, you are already whole. We will step to the side now, but we never leave your side. We do not belong just to this one, the channel. We are at a level where we hear all of your thoughts. This one knows us as Sanaya. You have your own collective consciousness helping. Call us what you will. Come to know us well. We are eager to work with each of you individually at the human level and collectively as the beautiful souls that we see you as. Trust us, you are quite the sparkling, shining lights. We bid you farewell for now, as we allow this one to continue relating soul to soul with you. Beautiful. I'm laughing because I'm looking at the clock and they said beforehand, this will take about 15 minutes. So it is. Thank you all so much for being part of that. Bev, Lynette, would you say something for a minute while I shift, please?
That was just an amazing, amazing energy and light. And I could just feel the group around the planet and the oneness, the connection. Beautiful.
It was really beautiful to share it with so many people online. I could feel that energy. The first time I heard Sanaya, I think there were a couple of hundred people in the room. And it's very special in my mind to sit with so many people and hear the wisdom and the love and all of that. All of us sparkling lights.
Amen. Well, thank you all. I have to tell you that I had no doubt that they would come through, but the second all of you started sending that energy, they just dropped right in so beautifully. The energy is just off the charts, and that's a beautiful group effort. I look forward to each of you experiencing your own personal miracle and hearing of those you love who have had a healing. And you can always share that through emails. Bev, the best email would be the one that goes to Valerie, which is office, is that it?
Admin at SuzanneGiesemann.com, and it will be sorted and sent to, it'll eventually end up with Suzanne knowing of all of these, but that's the best way to get it through our system. Admin at SuzanneGiesemann.com.
All right, thank you. All right, so I think we have our marching orders to continue on for another half hour. Beautiful. So some awesome insight this last week for me into manifesting and how we co-create things. And the guide said that when we imagine only the end point and we want things to be perfect all at once, we miss these middle steps, which is all part of life, love in full expression. And it may not always be pleasant and it may be hard work, but we can see the co-creation happening and to watch for the subtleties. And the biggest realization I had is that we don't have to be so specific about the end point, that often Spirit is helping us co-create and we don't even realize it. So I'm going to have a really cool new phrase for you to help you manifest and co-create. But I'm going to use a personal example so you can see how this worked and how the realization came to me. I mentioned to you that I went to a rally of the RVs that we own. And it's a big tour bus. And I will tell you right off the bat, it's used. It's older than our last bus and has higher mileage than our last bus because we couldn't afford one of these tour buses brand new. I just want to say that right up front. But the first time I heard about these particular kinds of buses, I thought to myself, wouldn't it be awesome to have one of those buses? But it was so far out of the realm of possibility that that's as far as it went. And here I am in the year 2022, and we have one of those buses. I still pinch myself. Like I said, it's an older model, it has older mileage, but it's perfect for Ty and me. It looks like a yacht inside, like a boat. It's fitted out like a boat, and we're boating people. It's like Spirit knew exactly what we needed. And it has what I need to be comfortable when I take the tour on the road for half the year. So I just see that as a blessing. I pinch myself every day, and Spirit said, you created that. And I said, no, I didn't. And they said, no, we want all of you to understand. Spirit is sometimes like Santa Claus. Now think about if you're a parent and you see your child eyeing a toy that they want or something they would really like to have, but they don't have the nerve to ask you for it. But it's quite obvious to the parent that you want it. If it's going to serve your greater good, they're going to get it for you. I have never heard it taught this way from the spirit world, but Spirit made it so clear to me that that's how it works. And we limit ourselves when we think something isn't possible. And we limit ourselves when we say, I want this specific, this and that. So the new manifesting phrase is straight from Spirit. And you can use the particular adjective you want, but I use, wouldn't it be awesome if? So fill in the blank. Maybe you're going to say, wouldn't it be a miracle if, or wouldn't it be great if? And you don't have to be completely specific, but what would you like to manifest in your life? Santa Claus is listening. And Santa Claus, of course, is the universe, your guides, higher consciousness, your soul, that if it knows that this is a present that the spirit world can gift you with, they will pull out all the stops. So instead of saying, I want this, I need that, wouldn't it be awesome, is the new manifesting phrase. So I hope you'll try it. I've been working on it, and I think, yeah, let's see. I said to my guides, I would like to be more deliberate in the manifesting. And their reply totally surprised me. They said, no, you don't, not necessarily. Then you fall into the trap so many humans do of thinking you run the show. from the human level, that if you don't think about it hard enough, if you don't repeat your affirmations often enough, if you don't pray hard enough, then you're not doing something right. That's not how it works. They said, leave a little bit of the wonder, Karen Crawford, there's your word. Leave a little of the wonder in the process. We don't want to call it magic because it's not magic. It's the way creation works. You are a beautiful reflection of the one mind that came here to create beautiful things and connection and love. And if we hold on to that wonder by saying, wouldn't it be awesome if you'd say that from the heart and know that it would somehow help, then watch how that turns out. So I hope that you find that helpful. I hope you're excited. Wouldn't it be awesome if our world leaders awaken to the fact that we come here to support each other and love each other and connect and not attack each other? Wouldn't it be awesome if world affairs play out in a way that we no longer harm each other and peace prevails? Wouldn't that be awesome? Wow. Okay. So families, boy, they can push our buttons, can't they? We come here to do that to each other, for the growth that ensues. I have some family stuff that I have worked on over years with my family of origin, and I thought I cleared it all out. And I had a chance last month to get together with my family. We had, I will tell you, a wonderful gathering. I'll tell you that right up front. And there was a lesson from Sanaya right after that gathering that talked about family sparring. And both of my siblings wrote to me and said, what was the Daily Way message about? And was that about us? And I said, it's not always about me, guys. It's about those who are going to read the message. There was no sparring. There's no private agenda here. But the lesson for all of us is about how these things do happen to us, because it's what happened, what came up with me before the visit. They were coming to the big bus, the tour bus. I was going to serve lunch. So I all of a sudden found myself in this mode where everything had to be perfect. And I had to serve just the right things, and everything had to be done just right. And I fell completely into human mode, yet I was aware this was going on. I started rushing about. I had to run out to the grocery store, and I kept running into literally blocks along the way. Roadblocks, construction blocks. I had to turn around and go the other way. I'm getting more and more upset. I get to the grocery store. I'm pushing the cart around like a crazy woman. And I'm thinking, why am I so bent out of shape? I'm completely bent out of shape over this visit with my siblings. Where is this coming from? And I had to be aware that I could have been obnoxious and knocked people over with my cart. And luckily there was enough soul awareness there that I maintained presence. But I get back in the car, I'm looking at my watch. I got back in the bus, Ty was off walking the dog. So luckily he wasn't there, but I'm flying around totally bent out of shape and suddenly snagged my ring on something. To this day, going back over it, I can't imagine what I snagged it on. But those of you who know my teaching, I teach everybody, watch for snags, right? When consciousness snags your attention because there's something you need to pay attention to. I literally was snagged so hard by spirit, I have to show you something. Let me pull it up again here. You ready for this? This is my ring. It was a little wave. I snagged the ring so hard. Are you ready? It bent out of shape. I was bent so out of shape. I was missing all the snags from spirit. And this ring, the wave, I called it my stay in the flow ring, to remind me, just like this little ring I have here, to stay in the flow of spirit. I mean, could they be any more obvious? I just sat and I said, all right, I'm listening. What's going on here? And they said, you are now in the very strong force field of memories of the family. There is still healing to be take place. So we did have a beautiful gathering right here, right now. No challenges, but old stuff clearly was coming up. So I say this to all of you to notice that even when you think healing has taken place, it may still be there. So how I cleared it out was using the no fault 7-step process I've taught in this before. And we're going to have that channeling session available in, not a channeling session, teaching session available in the archives in the next couple of days. If you don't know the no fault process, Bev will put a link to the archives where you can get that teaching. And I did the no fault process. I did tapping, cleared that all out. And boy, I said, may my lessons be as painless as possible moving forward. I'm just happy I didn't wreck the car and didn't mow anybody down with my shopping cart. So why do people push your buttons is the point of all of this. So you can heal what is revealed when they do. And that's why I do my best to give you processes for healing. Chakra clearing, regular basis, guys. Please try my 10-minute transformation meditation that's on the gifts page of my website. Anytime you're not coherent, out of balance, sit down and take about 10 minutes to do the full process. You'll come right back into balance and then ask your guides, what do I need to heal? And who can help me heal it? Sometimes your guides can help you and you can do it yourself. Other times they'll lead you to beautiful healers. But what's really funny is this leads into another teaching point I said I would share with you. That evening, after this beautiful visit we had, and the ring is totally unsalvageable, but I saved it for a reminder. So many insights about family relationships were coming up. And I just happened to check my YouTube channel. I'm going to share it with you, another slide. I was checking my YouTube channel and look at this. That night, I happened to notice that my number of subscribers was at 66.6 thousand. 666. I told you all that tonight we would also discuss why is it we see repeating numbers? What do they mean? They're a sign from consciousness. Pay attention. Now, I just paid attention, got snagged by the chat. I said it doesn't happen often, but somebody wrote, yikes. That's because whoever wrote that is associating 666 with the devil or something that they saw in a movie. They will have different messages for us at different times. When you see a repeating number like 111, that can mean new beginnings. Look it up online, spiritual significance of the repeating number, and they will have several meanings. Your heart will tell you what the meaning is for you in that instant. Wait till you hear what 666 meant, keeping in mind the kind of day I had, snagging the ring over becoming a lunatic over my pending visit with my family. Angel number 666. Why you keep seeing it over again is the guardian angels have noticed you lost the inner balance. There are several causes of why it has happened. They include attachment to something unhealthy, toxic relationships, and so on. When you feel like the needed work has been done and you are finally ready to release this unneeded attachment, goosebumps, the way you see your life will change. How about that? So somebody thought 666 was something else. That was the only day my subscribers were 66.6. The next day they were 66.7 and onward and upward. And I noticed it because I was led to look at your subscribers today. Finally, the number 666 is a sign that your point of view is transforming because of the new perspective. So clearly that was for me, but I share it with all of you to know how to use the numbers. Don't automatically it means something negative or whatever it means. Go online, use that, ask your guides to guide you to which is the appropriate meaning for you, and it will just be spot on. Why? Because those in spirit are the ones that snagged you to notice that 11:11 on the clock, or wake you up at 3:33 in the morning, or show you 777 on a license plate. You'll know what it is. You don't always have to look it up. Many times your loved ones across the veil will give you those same repeating numbers over and over and over, snagging your attention to say, hey, check that out. See that number? I'm thinking of you again. We're always connected. Love those angel numbers. Wow, I need to do a few questions from people, huh, Beth?
Okay. All right. Let's see. Louise asks, when we have a thought or an impulse, how do we know whether it's coming from our own human mind or is coming from divine guidance, our soul?
All right. Well, understand that all of it is coming from the one mind, because at the deepest level, there is no separation. You are that one mind in expression. But I know what we're all asking when we ask this question. You notice it because it's fresh, it's helpful, and it's healing. It's that simple.
Okay. Thank you. Anonymous, you mentioned communicating with stillborn babies. Have you ever communicated with aborted babies? And I also have this almost the same question about a miscarried baby.
Yes. Yes.
Do
My fault for not mentioning that before. Absolutely. And I will tell you, I have communicated, I know immediately when it's an aborted baby just because they tell me this. And miscarried, same thing. And I will tell you, they all feel divinely beautiful. I see sparkling lights. That's why I can't tell the gender right off the bat. All I see are the, oh, wow. Ha. So Naya just said, you see them like we see you, the sparkling lights. Yeah. Huh. So yeah, and they all are just pure love, no judgment whatsoever in the case of abortions, and a lot of understanding and a lot of learning that they bring through in those readings. How about another one, Beth?
Okay, Roxanne asked, is there a difference between masculine and feminine energy? Do those energies exist in the spiritual realm, and how does it pertain to us?
Sanaya says right now it's a frequency like you would understand a note on a piano, different tones. Interesting. And that here we call this masculine and feminine. Across the veil, the angels can be androgynous, right? It's just the blending of energy, and we come here to play a certain tone. And so you're seeing more of a blending of that now as we have the new humans being birthed, they say. Very, very interesting. And so there is a difference in the energy. What we label it as one thing, it's how it's felt, how it's experienced, how it's expressed.
Okay, thank you.
All right, one more, Bev, and then I have just a little bit more to share with you.
Several people have asked, you spend so much time in the spiritual realm, Suzanne. How do you keep yourself grounded in day-to-day life?
I could say I have my partner Ty, who keeps me very grounded. We joke a lot. He says that's his role. That is his role. Sometimes I just say, you know, why don't I go floating off into a cloud? It's because we do very earthly things. We exercise, and he pushes my buttons, and I love him to pieces. But if he were all beautiful and saw things exactly as I see things, I would not understand how other people think, how other people suffer. It's just the greatest gift in the world to be grounded by living with someone who's very grounded. And then I'd get exercise daily. It's very important to maintain my energy and body awareness. I also watch what I eat. I can hardly drink at all these days without feeling it, and I don't like the feeling. Oh, did I bring that up? I think I missed that one. I had an experience also where I found out I can't drink caffeine before a reading. So it made me incoherent again, in a high way, in a manic way. And there was Brenda in the background. No caffeine. So we had to adjust after that one. So how I keep myself grounded. This applies to all of you, please. So some people can handle caffeine. So don't take anything I say as far as mediumship as a rule. Come to, the guides say, know thyself, right? Know what works for you. Just like I need to say this, it came up earlier, I need to say it. If you are grieving for a loved one, does not mean you cannot connect with them. You must feel your grief to process it. It will come in waves. And at those times when you're not down in the trough, when you're in the middle, nice and peaceful, then you will have a much better chance of connecting with them. So just know that they're here and be patient and loving with yourself. Thank you, Bev. Thank you all for the questions. I said we were going to talk about how to use the awareness that you're not alone. This whole evening has been about sharing with you that you're not alone. Hopefully you get that now, not just your loved ones across the veil, but your guides, the archangels, the whole angelic realm. So how to know you're not alone? Call on them. I say this every month, but how about asking for angels for specific challenges? I've had a couple of those requests in the last month for challenges that I have. Don't think of my life as perfect either, friends, or I wouldn't need to be here. And I'm very happy to be here most of the time. But you can ask for specific issues. How about an angel to help you with depression? How about an angel to help you with trauma? Have you thought about that? Universe, send me an angel to deal specifically with this issue. Okay, and you can ask them to give you a name of what to call that angel, and then ask for a sign from that angel. How about adjusting to a change? How about angels to help you with new techniques? My guides, I shared this in the Shift Network event that was online recently. By the way, I have a new course with the Shift Network, starts at the end of this month. There was a little pricing snafu. We're going to send an email out about that. Please watch your inbox if you're on my newsletter. It's not as high as it appeared. That was something that the Shift Network did that made things a little bit confusing. But for info about the course, you can find the sign up for that right on my homepage under the banner. But I shared in that video, my guides gave me a new technique for sensing from the soul. I'll be sharing that in the upcoming class. And I said, this one takes some remembering. I would like some angels to help me remember to do this, to see with the eyes of the soul using this technique. And they said, we are sending you a whole group of cherubs. And I thought that was so cool. So I went online to Amazon and I found these really cute little cherubs. They look really bright on the camera right now. Not so bright, but they're really cute. I got 8 of them. These 2 are sitting right here where I remember. And there's 2 of them sitting down by my sink where I see them first thing in the morning, brushing my teeth, last thing at night, brushing my teeth, washing my face. There they are. I have them by my workstation downstairs. So how to know you're not alone? Work with the higher beings. And if you need little reminders, get them. They love anything we can do to acknowledge that they're here. Is it possible to be non-reactive to other people's energy? Absolutely. We are works in progress. I was very reactive to a recent interaction and became very aware of it and cleared my chakras and became centered again. But the reason I was going to share this with you tonight is to show great progress can be made. And I was just joyous and want to give all of you hope for yourselves if you find a challenge reacting to things you read on Facebook or comments that people put on social media that might knock you off balance. I received an email from someone about a reading that I did 5 years ago. And this person made a comment about something I allegedly said in that reading that she said has bothered her for 5 years. In the past, a reading like that would have devastated me for days. And for the first time ever, I didn't react at all. I did not react at all. I recognized the miracle in the making. I sat and I said, isn't that interesting? I cannot imagine I ever would have said such a thing in a reading, but clearly she perceived something, and I honor that. So I just went into the heart and I wrote her an email. And I suggest all of you do the same thing with no defensiveness, come from the soul's place. And I acknowledged her discomfort. And she had actually asked for another reading, which surprised me. And we're going to do that. But the beautiful point was that growth had taken place. So set that intention now. We do not have to necessarily get knocked off balance. We get knocked off balance much more by those in our soul family here because of those strong energy fields that are so much a part of our pattern. But comments on Facebook, social media, emails from people, you can float with peace from the soul's point of view. The soul's perspective is so powerful. Okay. Point of view is everything. The perfection of the timing of these evenings never fails to blow me away as we come and start to wrap up this beautiful 2 hours together. My guides wanted me to end with point of view is everything. And we've really focused on that this evening, that you are both a human and a soul. What if you came to realize for most of your life you were seeing things only through a pair of sunglasses with a lens that was a different color, but you could take off the glasses and see the world in a whole new way? You have a choice and an opportunity to do that now through coming to know yourself as a soul. Stories that I've shared with you this evening are designed to get you to know that you are a soul, that there is no death, and that by simply setting the intention to recognize that part of you that has always been part of you, when you're shining your light of unconditional love and you feel that connection. Do you feel it now? I feel it from you. That's soul to soul communication. And we can choose to do that when those around us still have their filtered lenses on. So what if everything you thought about this world was a little filtered, but there's a whole other way to see things? Once you take off those glasses, you get to make a choice. Remain aware, please, in the coming days. Do not give in to fear. When it arises, recognize that's the old part of the brain that's wired to protect you. Take actions to protect yourself when it's necessary, but don't fuel that fear with more fear. Shift awareness. Sit quietly and take a few deep breaths. Ask angels to help you through these times. I assure you, they will help you. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. I love all of you so much. I'm so grateful to be on this journey. There's Bev. You want to say goodnight, Bev?
Oh, what a great session. Thank everybody for being here.
We love you, Bev. And Miss Lynette?
It was wonderful sharing the evening with all of you and with the big team, Sanaya. It was beautiful. Thank you, everyone.
I'm so grateful to my assistants, to all of you, and mostly to Spirit for sharing what they have with all of us. Thank you so much, and hope to see you next month. Bye-bye.